I'm starting this video off as I finish the last one. We're on a roll, we're continuing the momentum on, and we're hopefully getting a lot of 5 stars in this video because it is an anticipated 5 stars reading vlog. So these books that I'm going to read are ones that I believe will be 5 stars for me based on who knows what. The synopsis, I don't even know. So I don't even know what I'm going to choose yet. Let's jump to the next clip where I've picked my first read.
Podium Audio presents Brimstone, Book 2 of the Fae and Alchemy series, written by Callie Hart, performed by Anthony Palmini and Stella Bloom.
All right, so I said I would start this vlog off by listening to Brimstone, which I am about halfway through now. I can't really tell you too much about what's going on in Brimstone because it is a sequel, but the sequel is to Quicksilver. Quicksilver essentially follows Ceres, our female main character, and Kingfisher, our male main character. Ceres lives in Solaris, and watch me get tongue-tied over all of the names. But this particular realm is like a hot desert realm. They don't have any night, it's sunlight all the time. And it's controlled by Madra, who's essentially this evil queen, and she controls the city because she controls the water. So where Ceres lives, it's called the Third. It's like the poorest section of the entire city, and it's been quarantined off as Madra essentially tries to like starve and dehydrate them all until they're gone. Essentially, that is what's happening. So in order to survive, because Ceres also has to take care of her brother, Hayden, who is still in his 20s, but he's, you know, a little bit like immature, doesn't fully grasp the situation that they're in, I don't think, and how dire it is. So she will slip into other sections of the city, which is illegal, and steal water or food or things that she can sell to buy those sorts of things. So the story starts with Ceres getting caught in another section. And you do see at the start that Ceres has some sort of affinity with metals as well. And it's made known that any magics is essentially outlawed in this realm. And if anyone has magic, they're to be turned into the queen as well, so they can be executed. So Ceres has gone through to another section of the city. She tries to steal from someone and gets caught, and in the end ends up stealing some of the armor from one of Madra's guards, which is gold plated, so she can sell it. And as she's trying to climb this wall to get away, and obviously the guard can't follow because he's covered in gold and his armor's really heavy, you see a little bit of the manifestation of her ability or affinity with metals come into play. But despite the fact that she does end up getting away, and this is all at the start, so it's not a spoiler, the guards do come for her. She ends up getting caught and taken into the palace to essentially be executed. And then that's where we meet Kingfisher, our main male character. And she ends up being pulled into this different realm by Kingfisher because of her affinity with metals that he happens to notice at the time. And I won't say too much more than that because I don't want to give it away. Brimstone, which is the sequel, it's what I'm listening to now. I listened to both of these, or I'm listening to both of these on Audible, but the audio production on these books is amazing. Let me just get the narrators' names up because it's narrated by Stella Bloom and Anthony Palmini. They are amazing. If you're not sure if you like Audible books, this is definitely one that I would suggest going into first. The narration for this is duet narration. So if you're not sure what duet narration is, one, it's what all books going forward should be narrated as, but the dialogue in any of the books in duet narration is done by that particular character. But essentially it's like you're listening to an actual conversation between two people, and it's actually really, really good. And the thing that these two narrators do in this, because there are quite a few characters in this book, is they put accents or inflections or pitch changes to their voice so that every character is actually identifiable just by the dialogue. You don't have to have them say, blah, blah, blah said, or so-and-so said this, because you can just tell who they're actually trying to narrate based on how they do their inflections in their voice. And it's so, so good. Like, the production value in this is amazing. So like I said, if you're not sure on an audiobook because maybe you haven't had the best experience, which I can relate to, there are some books that I absolutely love, like 5-star, always go back to reread books that are just narrated. I have no idea where the last footage left off because my memory card was full and so it stopped recording. But I was essentially just saying, if you want to try audiobook, try an audiobook, or you want a good audiobook, I would recommend Quicksilver and Brimstone. But I'm about halfway through. I'm having a great time. And without spoiling anything, the way that these books are written, like, in my opinion, because I don't really care to think too much about a book. Like, if it's not this a massive, like, elaborate world building, I'm okay with that if the story is still good. And to me, like, I gave Quicksilver 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. And I have a feeling that Brimstone is going to go the same way. But to me, these books are the perfect mesh of romance and fantasy, if you're into a romantic fantasy sort of story, because even though you can't particularly have this story without the romance, it doesn't take away from what's going on in the background of the story, like in the plot of the story, because the romance is entwined so well into the entire plot. So some of the books that I've read that are romantasy or fantasy romance, I don't know what that noise was, but some of them, once the relationship becomes semi-established or started in those books, the rest of the plot sort of just disappears to focus on the romance. Whereas in this, you're still getting a great mix of both. While you can't necessarily have one without the other in this particular story because it is very entwined with the romance and their relationship and everything, but it just seems to enhance the story in this case, I think, rather than take away from the plot. Like, you're still getting that story. It's still progressing really well. That is me. I do have simple tastes. I'm not going to say like I out here reading things to sort of like expand my mind or whatever else. I'm here for a good time and I'm having a great time. So halfway through. I don't know that I'll finish it today, but I will check back in when I do finish it or get closer to finishing it. So far, I gave the first book 5 stars. So I feel like I'm going to give this one 5 stars as well. That's the way it's going at this stage, which is fantastic. I'm having a great time. But anyway, I will check back in when I am closer to finishing or done. All right, guys, I finished Brimstone. I loved it. It's 5 stars for me. The ending of that book, I'm not going to give anything away, but I have thoughts percolating in my brain as to what I think is going on. And I can't wait to get to the next book and see if what I'm thinking is happening is actually going to happen. So 5 stars. I mean, my 5-star rating is basically just a vibes rating. So but definitely I think worth the read or the listen, in particular, if you are not sure about this series so far. But yes, I loved it. 5 stars. It's just fun for me. I think it's just a fun time reading this book or listening to this audio. And I had a good time. I'm excited to see where the story is going to go. So hopefully it is, the momentum stays up with this book, because they are quite thick books, but I don't feel like it's, to the detriment of the story. But I had a great time with it. So that is, the first book.
Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair, narrated by Laura Horowitz and Tristan Warden.
The second book I have already started. It's Terror at the Gates by Scarlett Sinclair. I have already basically listened to half of the book. This one is not duet narration, which is a little bit sad, but we do have sort of a dual POV in this one. This one follows Lilith. She is a daughter of one of the 5 sort of like ruling families in this world, except for the church, who has like overall power, I believe, in this particular world. And she has basically sort of rebelled from her family. So she was raised, and the women in this world are raised to be silent, pious, very almost secondary to men in this world. And even though in this world women hold power, they hold magic, the men are essentially, well, women are essentially powerless in the social structure of this world. The men are essentially in charge of the women sort of type situation. So there's that, but then also with the background of like church and religion, and the church being the power that is in this book. So it's not usually the type of story I enjoy. When it comes to religion, I don't particularly want to read about it in my fantasy books, but so far I have got about just under halfway. There is 2 parts in this that I can see, and I'm about 2 chapters away from part 2. I think I'm up to chapter like 8 or 9. So I've just started chapter 9. This one is narrated by Laura Horowitz and Tristan Warden. So because Lilith is no longer living under her family, she's in a different district, and this district belongs to Zarareev, and he is our main male character for this story. He is the son of a different ruling family, and he essentially looks after this particular district in which Lilith has now lived. So technically, according to the church, because they're the powers that be, even though he is a part of a ruling family, there's just the rules of their society dictate that she needs to be watched over by a male, and that happens to be Zarareev. And our story starts with Lilith, who uses her magic, technically illegally, to steal this particular dagger from someone in one of Zarareev's clubs. Because as Lilith is a woman, she has to basically have permission to work, and she can't work because of her station with her family. It's just not sort of done. She's supposed to just marry a very influential husband sort of thing, and then be like someone's wife. So that's why she's sort of left home. She's in this club. She can't work, so she steals to feed herself essentially. But she ends up stealing this particular dagger, and for whatever reason, when she goes to sell this dagger, the guy that she tries to sell it to ends up dying. And then she starts having these weird dreams surrounding the dagger. And then Zarareev takes this dagger essentially just to, take care of it while he takes care of Lilith. But the dagger somehow seems to just find its way back to Lilith all the time. And then people are dying, and yeah, that's where I sort of left off in the story. I think Lilith is just figuring out that there's something more with this particular dagger as she's trying to get more answers. And yeah, this is where I've sort of left off. So I'm just, like I said, a little bit off of part 2. So I'm not sure where part 2 is going to take us. But I also really kind of have no idea what's going on at the moment, which is obviously part of the story, but you're slowly sort of figuring things out as the characters figure it out, as you normally do. But yeah, as the reader, you don't know what's going on either. This book is quite a bit shorter than Brimstone, but I'm feeling like it's a little bit longer. Like, it's not that it's particularly slow, like you're getting the information slowly because you're only getting it when the characters are getting it. But yeah, there's just something about it. It's not that I'm not enjoying it either. I just don't think this one's going to end up being a 5-star, which is a little bit disappointing, but it is still good, but it still feels a little bit slow. So we'll see what happens in part 2. When I get to part 2, I'm about an hour of listening time, maybe a little less before I get to part 2. But yes, I don't know. It's just, not as engaging, I don't think. And maybe that's more of a personal thing because I knew going into it, it had quite a religious church bent to the story. But I thought because it's also got like magic and stuff and it's a little bit more fantasy than, you know, just contemporary, that it would be okay. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not disliking it. I will check back in with you when I've finished that one because I don't think, because it is such a shorter story, that I will really need to jump in before I finish it. But we shall see. And I'll check in with you when I've got an update. All right, guys, sorry if you can hear the laundry going in the background, but I'm just trying to get some housework done. I did finish Terror at the Gates by Scarlett Sinclair, and honestly, I did enjoy the book, but I only gave it 3 stars. Lilith, the main character, she kind of just annoyed me, and I don't think it was the narration because I listened to this one on audio, but just her attitude. She was kind of a little bit petulant and a little bit bratty, and it was just annoying to me. I was kind of sick of her through most of the book, but like it's all pretty much from her point of view. So yeah, you do get a little bit of Zara Reeves' point of view, and he is our main male character, but he has like tiny chapters, sort of like in the same vein as Ali Hazelwood during like Bride, where at the start of every chapter you got a little POV from the main character, male character. In this, it's the same. So not every chapter, but like you get a little snippet here and there. It might just be one sentence or like a tiny paragraph. It's not like a whole chunk of POV. And I thought that was really good because then you sort of get into his mentality a little bit and his point of view and his feelings, but it's not like a whole section of the story that you're getting from his point of view. And I really enjoyed that. And he was fun. I liked him as a character. You didn't get to see much of him because obviously you're in Lilith's POV the whole time. But yeah, Lilith was just annoying to me as a character. I did enjoy it and I still would recommend it. I just wouldn't go out of my way to say to someone who's not that interested in reading it already to be like, yes, you need to read this book. But if you think it's something that you might like, I definitely think it's worth the read. I just don't think it's something that I will ever want to reread again. But that being said, I definitely will check out the second book because it does leave off on a cliffhanger. So yeah, the story does continue and I do want to actually see where the story goes and see if Lilith does get any less annoying going forward. We shall see. But yeah, 3 stars for that one. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick up next. I'm thinking maybe I've got a couple like Metal Slinger I think I've got there. I've got Heavenly Bodies. I've got Silver Elite. I don't know, there's heaps, but I will check in when I've picked my next book up. The last book I want to read in this vlog is 9 Month Contract by Amy Dawes. So this is just a contemporary romance. It follows Wyatt and Trista. Wyatt is a guy that is looking for a surrogate so he can be a single dad. And he wants to be a single dad to avoid any relationship breakdowns and potentially having to share custody of his child. And then we meet Trista, who feels like she wouldn't necessarily be a great mum. So she's decided that she wants to try and be a surrogate for someone. 1, because then she gets to still experience pregnancy, but 2, because it's I think for her, a quick, easier way of getting some cash because she wants to open up an animal sanctuary that takes in not just domestic animals, but all types of animals. And to her, this is the easiest way to get that cash. So we meet Trista at the start of the book and she meets Wyatt's niece who is trying to set up a surrogacy for him because while he's gone through the professional surrogate agencies and hasn't been able to find someone, his brothers have taken an ad out for him that's supposed to be well-meaning, I guess, but is also a little bit unhinged, this ad. And so his niece has been essentially fielding calls for all these people or all these women who want to be a surrogate but also maybe just want to live somewhere and get some cash. So it's not working out for Wyatt so much, but then they meet Trista, and Trista just sort of becomes this perfect person in his niece's eyes, and she is setting them up for romance, not so much for business, and the story goes from there. So I thought the concept of this would make it really interesting, and that's why I thought this one would be a 5-star. I did only give this one a 3-star. 3 stars is still good, and I did still enjoy this book, but I felt like at the start the story was very much tell and no show. That I don't mind a slow burn, that's for sure, but in this case we were sort of, you do get dual POV, so you are in the mind of both of them, and they are sort of attracted to each other, but it was almost in the way that, like, if I was to say I was attracted to a celebrity or something, it just seemed like an unattainable attraction. Like they weren't actually interacting in a way that showed they were attracted to each other, if you get what I mean. So for me at first, I was kind of like not feeling the chemistry between them. Like, yeah, okay, they were attracted to each other, but they weren't, I don't know, particularly making it obvious to the other person that they were attracted to them. I don't know. I just, yeah, I didn't feel the chemistry. And then I got to about, I think it was 50% through when the spice started. And I mean, it was fine. And okay, yeah, they were sort of demonstrating more sexual attraction to each other. But I don't know, the emotion half of it sort of just felt a little flat to me. And I did get a little bit bored in the middle because it felt like rinse and repeat. Like they were coming up against the same obstacles over and over and over, but didn't ever seem to progress from there. And then the ending just went like 100 miles an hour, and it felt rushed because there was very little build up, I felt, to this sort of like romantic conclusion, and then everything at the end was like, okay, cool, yep, go, 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 go. But having said that, it was fun and I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed the family. Like Wyatt's brothers are really, really funny, and the next one in the book is one of the brothers' stories, and I think his story might be more interesting to me than what Wyatt's was in the end, but I'm not sure I'm going to rush to jump into the next one. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but it just kind of fell a little flat for me. However, I don't want that to turn anyone off this book if you think the concept is interesting, because it definitely was. But yeah, for me, it was just a little bit too much tell and no show, and then the ending felt really, really rushed. But 3 stars, which is still a good rating for me. It was a good time. I probably won't ever reread it, and I just won't be rushing out to read the rest in the series. So overall, not too bad for anticipated 5 stars. I think sometimes when you are expecting it to be a 5-star, the expectation maybe is a little bit higher on some of the books. So I might look at rating the books a little bit harsher than normal, but I still enjoyed all of the books. There was none of them that I read that I was like, oh, that was such a disappointment. It was just not quite up to expectation for a couple of them. However, I did have a great time filming this video, and I can't wait to get into more anticipated 5 stars. Let me know down below what your biggest anticipated 5-star book is at the moment, and if you've read it, did it live up to your expectations? Thanks so much for being here, guys. I will see you next time. Have a great day wherever you are. Bye.